Yeah, good morning, all. Thank you for taking the time and making yourselves available this morning. On behalf of the Perth Glory Football Club, I'm very pleased to announce the appointment of Alen Stajcic as our new A-League men's head coach. We're extremely excited to have someone of Alan's calibre on board and very excited by the prospect of the value that he can add right across our organisation. It's a great day for the club.
Alen, welcome. Guess I'd just like to start by asking, how do you view the task ahead?
Look, it's like any new environment that you go to. It's going to be a big job. Obviously the players have been living with a little bit of uncertainty in this whole preseason, and there's nothing worse, I guess, for a player or even staff members than uncertainty. So hopefully today, clarifies a lot of that for the playing group, and we can move forward together, unified and in one direction, and setting a new goal. And obviously, it's a new period for the club, and a sense of renewal for the club. So I really look forward to getting over there. And, I'm having a couple of days off now after the Women's World Cup, and then getting in there refreshed and ready to go and take on this huge responsibility and honour.
It is unusual. How is it for you, the new coach, with coming in with no owners? And have you sought any extra assurances or terms in your contract given that situation?
Yeah, look, I've discussed that with Anthony over the last couple of months in terms of situation, and being kept fully in the loop about what's been happening with the club, and also with the APL and Danny Townsend as well. So I'm comfortable with the situation the club is in, and it's a period of transition for the club. But a lot of clubs have gone through that in the history of the A-League and even before. So I'm comfortable with where they're at. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come over. And for me, it's just a sense of renewal for the club, and it's a period from where we can start to grow and be unified. And it's an exciting challenge for me. For me, my first memories of the club are the 90s and the 2000s, and that was a big impression on me. It really changed the landscape of Australian football at the time. And Perth was so late to come to the party in terms of the National League, but when it came, it became the biggest club in the league. And that's the vision I have in my head: a club that's massive and an important part of the Australian football ecosystem. And I want it to get back to those heights and be up there regularly.
Given the ownership situation has put you back a little bit in the recruiting window, is that a challenge?
Yeah, look, everything's a challenge at a football club. There's different challenges all the time. The fact that I've missed the first 4 or 5 weeks of pre-season makes it a little bit more difficult. But, I'm coming in at this point, and again, I've been fully aware of what's happened up until this point. And, whether it's training of the team, preparation of the team, periodising the plan, recruitment, they're all important parts of the strategy and the plan moving forward. But for me, we've still got plenty of time. There's still eight or so weeks to the commencement of the A-League, and plenty of time to put things in place in every perspective in terms of the team, from recruitment to training and preparation and everything that needs to be done. So, I still think we've got a lot of time. And one of the biggest difficulties of the A-League is the long pre-season. So in this respect, it's actually a bit of a bonus for us.
Have you actually had much time spent with the players as of yet?
No, not as of yet. No, it's just been announced now, and I've only just got back home 2 nights ago, back into Sydney from New Zealand. So, obviously a lot of my attention was taken up with that campaign, having spent 7 weeks together as a national team. And, we've only just agreed on the deal in the last 48 hours. So, now my attention's fully focused on this. And as I said, a day or two to get refreshed, and then I'll be over there and fully focused on the job at hand.
What do you do to sort of get the trust of the players? Obviously, it hasn't been an easy past year, and it's a big job for you to do now. How do you gain their trust?
Yeah, look, I think that's important everywhere you go, and that's the job of everyone at the club. It's not just the head coach's job; it's everyone at the club, from top down, from every staff member, every administrative member, every player, to work together to earn that trust and earn that respect amongst each other. So, that's a process, and it's regardless of which team you go into, in which situation, that's always a challenge. So, that's something that I'll take on board. And again, it's just an honour to go to such a prestigious club, and being able to work at that capacity with those players. And last year they didn't have a bad season. They were actually in the mix and in finals contention for a long time. So there's a lot to be positive about, and a lot to a lot that you can hang your hat on, that there's a path to move forward. And, that's a process. But as I said, I've got to get in there first before we can start making up all the different scenarios about where we're going to go and how we're going to do it.
Hi, Alan. Hope you're well. Over the last, in the A-League era for Glory, they've only won one piece of silverware. Like you mentioned, you have to go back to their old NSL days to find the height of the Glory success. Is that part of a challenge, kind of bringing back that, those silverware-laden days and correcting, I guess, the recent form slumps?
Yeah, it is, Ben. And look, it's not too dissimilar to the situation I arrived in at the Mariners. And, they're both one-team towns. They're both teams that prided themselves on connecting to the community and being popular within their community. And Perth Glory back in the 90s and early 2000s was getting 15, 16, 17,000 people a game, and obviously success on the pitch as well. And, I think that Sydney and Melbourne clubs are really important to the A-League, but I think the regional clubs are even more important, and, even more important that they're successful both on and off the pitch. So, I know that all the elements of the puzzle are important. The connection to the corporate world, the connection to the fans, the connection to government, the connection, within the grassroots system around Perth. Even more important for one-team towns like Perth. So it's something that I'm really keen to rebuild. I know that there is a massive football fan base there, and we've seen that, throughout, even the West Ham game, teams that have toured there, Perth, the couple of grand finals that they have been in the A-League. We really want to return to those days, and it's essential not only for Perth but for the A-League to have a strong Perth as well. So, I'm really looking forward to rebuilding it and sustainable.
Yeah. When you've obviously had such a varied career, Alan. You've spent time with Matildas, the Central Coast, as you mentioned, and most recently the Philippines. What do you feel like in terms of your most recent stop? Is obviously a very different environment to Central Coast and Matildas. What do you think you learned from that post in the Philippines, which you're hoping to bring to Perth?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say I've learned anything particular at any job other than the things that are common across successful teams, and that's having a really good team environment, having a positive culture where everyone wants to work hard and thrive and work for one another and work together. And that's something that I'll aim to do straight away, straight off the bat. And, as I said earlier, the team didn't underperform that badly last year. The team was, in finals contention right up until the end of the year, and I remember watching a lot of their games. So, there are essential qualities that I'll demand within the squad and within the club in terms of behaviours and culture and unity, and anyone who doesn't want to come along for the ride and be aligned with how we want to progress as a club, then they won't be part of the team. We really want to be a united team and stand together and stand strong, and that's been common across all the teams that I've coached over the last 20 years.
Just wanted to ask you in terms of, we've already seen Ryan Williams and Elsie leave. Do you need to get around to the players now and convince them to stay on board for the ride?
Look, every player has their own choices in life, but again, the biggest difficulty for them is uncertainty, and the biggest difficulty for anyone in any facet of life is when you don't know, the situation you're in. So now that there is a little bit of certainty around the club, now that they do know who's coming in, I'm sure that they'll all want to stay on board. And again, for us to move forward, it needs to be a positive environment, it needs to be a united environment, and anyone who wants to leave, that'll be their prerogative. But I want people who want to be there. I want people who want to fight for the shirt, who want to fight for the club, who want to fight for the city, and show that they're proud of where they're at. And that's essential. That's a non-negotiable for me. So, to be in that mindset of, you're not sure whether you want to be there, well, you probably won't be welcome anyway. So, we have to be there as a united team and as a united club. And if we're going to work ourselves up the ladder and not only have short-term success, but have long-term success. And I think that that's something that you can learn from other clubs. And I think the Mariners over the last 3 or 4 years have shown that it's not about resources all the time. It's certainly about what you have in terms of your club culture and your unity amongst your group. And they've proven that with that, they can win the A-League.
Yeah, and it was a solid rebuilding season last season. Do you see finals as kind of like a minimum benchmark for your first season in charge?
Yeah, look, if you're playing in the A-League, if you're playing in any elite competition and you're not aiming for finals, you probably shouldn't be there either. So it's probably another non-negotiable. Like, they're all professional players. We're a professional club, and we want the community to be proud of our club. And you want to be in finals contention. You want to play, attractive and entertaining football. And the patrons, the fans, they want to see a club that they want to be proud of, and no one's proud of a club who's not contending for finals and aiming to win every match. And certainly there's a lot of advantages of being in Perth. Obviously, that everyone talks about the travel being a disadvantage, but I actually see Perth being in the region that it's in, it's actually a massive advantage. And, just having coached the Mariners and having the travel to Perth, I know that the apprehension that sometimes other clubs have coming there. So, it's a massive advantage to be where we are, and one that we need to use, and really use the fact that we're, potentially one of the strongest clubs in the A-League, and that's been proven before, and it's time to prove it again.
Yeah, and the style of play you're looking to bring in, what can you tell the fans?
Yeah, look, again, we're just going to have a positive mindset. And, I came into the Mariners when they'd been 6 or 7 time wooden spooners in the previous few years, and, it took a lot of hard work to get that club off the bottom. And this club is not at the same position. So, the tactics that we employ will be slightly different, but definitely a positive mindset's at the foundation of that. And, I'm sure the fans will be excited when they come to round 1.
Yeah. And Anthony, I was wondering if I could ask you about the search for a new owner, just maybe get an update on where that sits at the moment.
Yeah, so that's been run through an independent process through the receiver called Mentha, and that's basically, they anticipate like an 8 to 10 week period for that to run its course. I think now you see that I think the club's now been advertised publicly out in the marketplace. So now they'll go out and try and procure interested parties, expressions of interest. But yeah, like I said, it's about an 8-week process.
Did you know how close in terms of, is there a number of buyers at the moment that you're pretty confident from the information that you're receiving that it will be in that time frame?
Yeah, I think speaking to the guys, the inquiry's been quite strong. So they're quite pleased with the level of inquiry, and some of the parties that had made themselves known prior to Mentha being appointed are in the mix, both international and local parties. But obviously there's, with the developments, it's actually brought a new level of interest and new parties to the table as well. So speaking to Mentha, they're really pleased with the, where it's at this stage.
Staj, you took over Matildas in the wake of a player revolt and a coach being sacked. You took over the Mariners when they were bottom of the league. You took over the Philippines when they were 69th in the world or something. What is it about you and, clubs down on their knees?
I'm a glutton for punishment, obviously, but I really look forward to the challenge. As I said, for me, having a strong Sydney and Melbourne is essential for the A-League, but strong regional clubs is even more important, and I guess that's probably the biggest drawing factor for me towards Perth. My first impression of the club was that it was a massive club, and I want it to be a massive club again. It really was the club that probably turned around the whole National League back in the 90s, and through its innovation and connectivity to its fan group, it really was the biggest innovator in the old National League, and almost in some respect led to the downfall of the National League in showing how clubs should be run and could be run in the future, and caused the formation of the A-League. So, I see so much potential for the club, and, over the last few years, there's been, a few highs and, sort of not any real bad lows, but the club's sort of been lingering in the middle, and I really just don't believe it belongs in the middle. It belongs at the top of the A-League, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be there.
Will you have the budget for significant signings?
Lucky my CEO Anthony's on the call. He said it's an unlimited budget. No, obviously there's going to be difficult times now until the new owners come in. But again, I'm across all that and aware of all that, and Anthony's kept me in the loop with everything over the last few months, and so have the APL. So I'm really comfortable with where they're at. and excited for the new ownership when they come in, and hopefully they're going to have a brand new club to look forward to purchasing and building and growing into the force that we all think it should be.
You know, you talked about the importance of building culture. How do you go about rebuilding the culture of a club that has seen pretty tumultuous times over the past, you know, at least 2 years, especially now with no owner? What's your approach there?
I'm not sure we got enough time in this press conference, Kason, but look, I've been in worse situations, to be honest, and you know, ultimately it all comes down to the people who are involved, and you know, there's no magical formula for doing that other than having good people and good leaders around the group, and that's something that'll be essential within this playing group and within the club as well. Good people and good leaders often lead to good behaviours around the club and positive behaviours, and that's something that we'll be ensuring we get right from the outset.
And just one more on your approach coming into the club. You know, are you building on the foundation that's been left for you, or is your approach to come in and sort of start from zero, I suppose?
Yeah, look, it's always hard coming in, and as I said, we missed 3 or 4 weeks of pre-season already. But yeah, we'll be coming in with a whole new mindset. You know, the players have been training in an interim capacity, which is always difficult. And as I mentioned, last year wasn't a season where the team came last or second last. And even though the bottom 6 or 7 teams were all really close, Perth was certainly in the mix right up until the end. So it's not as if you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of the players or the group or the way they played. But certainly we want to be challenging for finals and getting in the finals. And for that, you know, it needs a little bit of a shift, and we'll be doing that when we come in.
Yeah, Alen, it's short turnaround, but have you had time to reflect upon your achievements with the Philippines?
Yeah, look, it's I have, and obviously I did even straight after the game. It was, you know, an amazing ride. It was emotional. It was memorable. It was possibly something that'll never be repeated. To take, you know, a group, when we went to the Asian Cup, 20 of the 23 players were unattached and hadn't played club football for a good period of time, and just to qualify for the World Cup was miraculous. And the whole journey over the last 20 months has been, you know, just, I keep using that word, it's beyond what we even dreamed of or imagined. You always have that vision and dream and want to attain something, but it was a million miles away from when we first came in. And to actually get to a World Cup and win a match at a World Cup and have 32 and 34,000 people at your matches and full of Filipinos and you know, almost inspiring a whole country to start supporting football, where really football is, you know, low down the pecking order in terms of popularity and engagement. So to think that we've changed all that in a short period of time is really rewarding, and you know, I couldn't be prouder of the whole playing group and staff that we had on board for that period.
And now that your run's over, do you hold any interest in the Matildas run, or are there bridges burned there?
No, there's no bridges burned at all. I'm not sure why there'd be bridges burned. I'm interested in the whole World Cup, and you know, obviously I coached a lot of those players for 20 years, so you know, of course you can have an attachment and connection to them as well. And you know, those relationships have been there since the players were 13, 14, 15 years of age till now, when most of them are 29, 30. So you know, of course there's an interest in them all the time, and you know, I'll be following the Philippines careers just like I follow the careers of all the Mariners players that I coached as well. You know, it's great seeing Kai Rolls doing well in the Socceroos, and you know, all the other players that left to go overseas and play professionally in Scotland, Gianni and others. So you know, we've always stayed in touch and kept good relationships, and I guess that's what we had there at the Mariners and all the places that I've been to. We've had a good culture and good people, and when you have that, you know, you develop not only good relationships but lifelong friendships as well.
If I may, is there any intent on bringing any people with you into work, Alen?
Yeah, look, Noel Arate, my assistant coach, who's been with me for the last 5 or 6 years at Matildas and at the Mariners and at Philippines. He's coming with me, and my video analyst from the Philippines as well, Steve Antonich, will be coming with me. I've worked with Danny Milosevic before as well, so you know, there's a good core group of staff that, you know, I'm well accustomed to, and you know, we all know how we work together and have formed a really great bond and relationship over those years. And you know, I only worked with Danny for a short period of time, but he was an amazing person to work with and a great friend as well. So it'll be great to join up with him again and give me a good solid core of people who already know how we work together, and we'll be able to impart what we want even quicker.
All right, we'll finish up in that case. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you, Alen.
Thank you.